Hi, I'm GeoDav, and in this video we're going to have a look at maybe a more up-to-date way of rigging and exporting a weapon mesh from 3ds Max into Unreal Tournament 3. Okay, now as you can see here, I've got one of my famous super duper fantastic meshes, as you can see. Lots of polys on this one. Now I'm going to use this for the first and the third person mesh. Okay, so let's just get onto it and see. Well, okay, we've got the mesh. Have a quick look at the UV map while we're here. As you can see, where possible, use unique UV mapping. This will help you when you create the normal maps, the specular maps, and all the rest of it. Okay, as you can see, it's not really going to be worthwhile me doing this on this one, but we'll bodge up some bits and pieces to do later into the package and into the game. Okay, so this video is just mainly going to be on creating a rig for it, skinning it, and then exporting the mesh and the animations you're going to need. Okay, alright, so I'll just collapse that down. Alright, so what do we need? Well, alright, we've got a mesh. Alright, so we need a rig. Now, I don't use max bones, as you might have realised by now. I use max objects. Now, if you don't know what a max object is, well, this is it. You go into Create, Geometry, and you've got the object types. Okay, these are very simple objects, obviously box, sphere, cylinder, torus, teapot, if you want to do a cup of tea. Anyway, we'll go for pyramids. Now I'll just create here a very simple pyramid, and there we go. That's going to be my first bone. I'm going to start calling these bones. Don't forget the simple max objects, but I'll carry on calling them bones. And all I do on here, as you can see over in the parameters side, is I'm just going to go down, set the sizes I want, and there we go. Happy. Now, the thing is, what you've got to watch with these, you see them clicking on the move bit, is get everything lined up. Now, I'll just move this up out of the way of the mesh for a minute. Now, very important, okay, the alignment of the mesh. Alright, we'll come back to the bones because this goes along with this. Alright, align the mesh along the x-axis. So you've got in the front view the weapon points along the x-axis. Okay, Z being up. Now we have to relate this to our bone as well. Now obviously, right, I'm just going to center this up. Okay. Now, if we're going to use a bone like that, that's going to be pretty silly. Okay, so all we do, angle snap toggled on, rotate it. Okay, rotated it 90 degrees. Great. Can we use it yet? Let's just maximize it so we can see it in all ports. Well, no, not yet, because although we've rotated the object to point in the correct direction, the actual pivot of this object, which what takes the alignment when you start skinning things, is not in the orientation that we need. So we go up here. Let's see if there we go, hierarchy. Affect pivot only, because we don't want to turn the mesh. We just want to affect the pivot. Now, as you can see here, the pivot for our bone is X is down, Y is out that way, and Z's pointing where we don't want it. So all we have to do here is click on Align to World, and everything's now set up okay. Right, next thing we do, change the name. So what we're going to name these things? Well, it's best where you can to have something original. I'm not going to be very clever with this, but I'm just going to use shock and underscore base. Alright, so this is going to be my base bone. Okay, now instead of just moving things about, playing around, trying to, or putting in figures here, you'll see me just, well, obviously you won't see me clicking on my mouse, but if you right click on these spinners, it'll automatically set them to 0. Okay, so now we've got that at 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, X, Y and Z. That's where we want it. Right, what else do we need? Well, I like to have a bone at the end of the barrel to put the effects, add the effects socket onto. So I'll hold down shift, move it across. As you can see, the old one stays where it is. We're cloning these. It's just basically a copy option. Okay, so we'll call that shock fire. There we go. Just eyeball it up to around the centre of the barrel. As you can see, this is all centralised already. Now what else do we need? Well, we've got this big block on the top here. Now I want this to move backwards and forwards when we fire. So we'll just select the base bone again, holding shift. Now I'm going to move it up here. Just a little bit of eyeballing. Change the name and we'll call this slide. Really clever namings. I'm just going to try and eyeball this a little bit better. Yeah, that looks fine to me. It'll do. Obviously when you're doing your weapons you want to be a little bit better. Take a bit more time. Maybe align your bones before you create your single mesh. Yeah, these have all been made as separate parts and attached together. So we've got a single mesh. Must point that out, not multiple parts anymore. Okay, just a single mesh. Now, if we rig this as it is now, obviously linking them all together, then animating it, you might get problems with the animation not showing in game. This is a point that's made out with the vehicles, and I've also noticed on the weapon rigs, when you look at them in the Unreal Editor, you'll find any part that's animated gets linked in the hierarchy to another bone before it goes to the base bone. Okay, so what we're just going to do is again hold shift, move that one up, and this time we're going to change the name and call it anim. Okay, because that's the bone that's going to let us animate things. Now, obviously, what do we do now? Okay, if you've never done things like this, I'm just going to select the weapon, right click, hide selected, so that as we go over here, maximize everything to get everything in line, and we're just going to link these bones together. Now, which way do we do them? Okay, the fire bone, that can get linked straight to the base because there's going to be no animations on that. Okay, the slide bone, we first link that to the anim bone, and then we link the anim bone to the base bone. Okay, so now I just got pick my select one. Let's have a look at the hierarchy. Display your subtrees. Okay, so you've got the shock base on the far left. Starting on the far left, you can see that is the bottom of the hierarchy, or the top, which way you want to look at it. And then you've got the shock anim and the slide. On the same level, you've got the shock fire. Okay, that's the way we want it. That's the way I know it will work, and it'll work for you as well. Alright, let's unhide all, and we've got our weapon there, our super duper thing. Now, what do we need to do next? Okay, select the mesh and add a skin modifier. Okay, keep saying okay, bad habit, sorry. Alright, before we do anything else, we need to add the bones that we want. I'm getting a little bit ahead there. Alright, here's the bones that we want. We can just click on all of them because we want all of these in the skin. Yes, even the anim one. Okay, so we select that, and they're all in the skin. Now, obviously, if you've never skinned anything before, the way I do it, I don't like, we click on edit envelopes. Now you can mess about with these things till you're blue in the face. They don't work well for me, they don't work the way I think things should work, so I'll leave that alone. What I do is under this select section, I click on vertices, then I go down to this wonderful little tool called the weight tool. Click on that and this opens this bit here. Now we'll just scroll that down. Now probably one of the easiest ways to do this, especially if you've got a really simple mesh like what I have, is I just select everything. As you can see, all the vertices are selected. I make sure shock base is selected here. As you can see, it's already highlighted here because the skin modifiers already notice that that bone's there. Okay, so all we do is click on the one. Now you can see all the vertices have gone red when we have the shock base selected. Now we need the vertices from the slide section to be skinned to the slide bone. So all we have to do here, another little tip, select element. Alright, now obviously I've built these up as separate pieces, so this will be an element. As you can see, all the vertices of that element, that piece, have been selected. Now I want it to go onto the slide. Make sure you've got the slide selected. You see how the bone's highlighted here with the envelope. And just press on 1. Alright, so it has the full vertex weight. And that's all we need to do. We don't need to add any weighting for the fire bone or the anim bone. That is actually everything we need to do on the skin inside of this mesh. Right, we'll just close that down and go, right, what do we do next? Well, the next thing we have to do, well, first thing that we could do, if you want, we'll go over to Actor X. As you can see, I've been here before. You've got to check your work out, you know. Right, now, when I done this the last time, I forgot, oh yeah, as I remember today, we need a first person and a third person mesh. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, how's about that? I'll make that a capital P. There we go. Skeletal mesh, naming conventions. Remember these. Skeletal mesh. WP for weapon. An original name for your weapon. And first person. Now obviously the first person mesh of a weapon that you put into game is going to have a lot more than 102 polys. Because otherwise it's going to look as crap as this one. But we can use this as just a show on how things are done. Okay, done. Before I forget, show you the Actor X setup, all my settings. Yeah, very rare I will change these, and if I do I will tell you in advance. You see, I've done this before because the audio didn't work the last time. Anyway, right, for the third person mesh, now as I just said, the first person mesh will be a high poly version. Okay, looking up to anywhere between 3 and 9,000, well 3,000, 9,000, maybe even up to 12,000 for really complicated weapons. But I suggest try to keep it around between 6 and 9 and you should be fine with that. Okay, for the third person mesh, now we don't really need any of these bones for it. All you need is the base bone and the fire bone. Well, to be honest, you probably could just get away with the base bone, but we'll just leave that as it is because it won't harm it. I'll just change that 1 to a 3 and go thank you, that will do finally. Okay, yeah, we're done. Okay, that's saving the mesh out. What else do we need? Well, what else we need for a weapon is obviously the animations. Now, if you've looked at the weapons, you'll see some weapons have quite a few animations, and other weapons are going to have a few. Okay, now as you can guess from the name Geoshock, what weapon are we going to replace? We're going to replace the shock rifle. Why? Because that's got the easiest code to play with. It's not got, well, it's not got a lot to it compared to other weapons. So all I've done is I looked at that weapon in the editor. Now as you can see, one of my fantastic lists, Geoshock text, the mesh, need to change that to add the first and third person ones. These are the anim names that you will need. Okay, these are the anim lengths. Now you don't have to stick to these lengths, trust me, I don't. Whatever you feel is necessary. Obviously don't make them too long, because otherwise they'll play really slow in game, and Unreal Tournament is a fast-paced game. Okay, muzzle sockets, these are the things you'll always find out when you look at the original package in the editor. Have a look around it, write the names down, make a text file, because that will stop you making typos. I make a lot of typos, so right, let's get back to what we should be doing. Right, how many animations do we need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe 6. Okay, you need, trust me, you will need at least these 5 animation names. Okay, so we need to make at least 5 animations. Alright, so how do we do this? Well, let's be very careful here and make a keyframe for the whole lot. And how do you do that? Have the whole lot selected, set key, hit the key button. Okay, that's a key. That key is there set for every single item that you have selected. Now, the way I do things, as you can see here, down here, yeah, I have selected auto key. So that means every time I move anything, yeah, any one of these parts, it will make a keyframe of that move. Okay. Now the first thing I do with everything selected, this is me being, as you can see, I've marquee select that keyframe. I hold shift and I move that to position frame number 10. Now why do I do that? It's just in case I make a boo-boo somewhere along here, and instead of trying to reset everything, I just go back here to my original keyframe where everything's set, make a copy of it, move it to where I need it, and that's fine. Right, so what now we're going to start animating. The first one that we want to do is a fire. Now you don't animate the mesh, you animate the bones. Okay, trust me. Alright, we'll move up here and yet again highlight that, highlight the first key, well, key number 10, copy, well, hold shift, move, making a copy of it to 20. I'm going to make what will be 11 frame animation. Can you see anything there? No, of course not. Right, so all we do there, pull trigger, it goes bang, recoil, moves back. There you see, there, bang, goes back. Very easy. Now, what else do we need on this? Well, we want that slide bit to move back as well. But not quite, because obviously the weapon fires and then the bullet gets ejected. So we'll just move that onto frame 15. Put that back a bit. And you can see, here we go. Wee dunk. Wee dunk. Now, as you can see, that's not doing what it should be doing. And why isn't it doing it? Well, let me just select, double clicking on the base bone will select the rest of the rig. Alright, so copy that, highlight, well, select it, copy, paste. Okay, now if you're watching that slide bone, it goes back forward. Well, it goes back forward, what a way to say that. It returns to its initial position. There we go. Okay, that's the fire anim. Yet again, with all the bones highlighted, we're going to make the alt fire. Now, Well, in fact, the alt fire is going to be like a burst fire. So I'm going to basically do that fire anim in a smaller section twice. So the easiest way to do this, just copy, pull, copy, and yet again, well, in fact, I can probably marquee select both of them, holding shift down, move them across, and there we go. Dink, 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 dink. Going very slow. There we go. Yeah, fantastic. Right, now we go back to our text file because this is quite important. Well, everything's quite important, but the animations that you need. Alright, weapon equip, weapon put down. What you think there for? Yeah, when you select your weapon. Okay, you see the weapon getting pulled up and then put back down. Now I do this a little bit back to front, so I do the put down animation first and then the equip animation afterwards. So what do we do here? Yet again, copy, select the keyframe, hold shift, and now I'm going to move it 20 keyframes. Okay, now that didn't work. I'll tell you why that didn't work, because sometimes my keyboard doesn't realise I'm holding the shift button. So again, hold the shift button, select the key, move it across, make sure I've got a copy. There's nothing quirky going on there. Right, now we'll go to the position, well, frame 40. Now this time I only want to have the base bone selected. Okay, select rotate. Now we rotate it down, and in the top view, right clicking on in the window will select that view and move it across. Okay, very simple. So it goes down and across as if you're putting a weapon down. Okay, I'm sure you all done this as kids. And now through that simple position there, we've now got the select one, killing 2 animations with 1 keyframe. There we go, fantastic. Right, what else do we need? Well, we need an idle animation. Idle animation, how long do we want that? You need to have quite a few frames on this, because otherwise it'll look very jerky. Now what I'm going to do, as you see, marquee select, hold shift, move it. I'm going to make mine 50 frames. Now this will probably still be quite jerky in game, so we'll see how it goes. Up to you. If it looks jerky, then just extend it or make a new one, whatever. What I'm going to do again is make sure I've got that selected, and I'm going to put one in the middle. So all I do now is go approximately in there. Now I'm going to move it slightly that way, and it goes back to the middle because I copied the keyframe. Again, move it a bit that way. Keyframe. You see the different colours? Yeah. Those red or reddish brown ones just means that it's been translated. Okay. Now the green ones are obviously rotated. The blue ones, I believe, if I remember rightly, scale, which we don't want to use. Trust me, scaling is not a happy thing to do with Unreal Tournament. I know some people will probably curse me by saying things like that, but it will cause problems if you start trying to scale things via a skin mesh and all the rest of it. Just don't do it. Okay, so now we've got everything there. I know I haven't got the instant gib, but we should have it, but I'm not going to bother. But we are going to make an animation with it. Now, again, the animation, we need to export these animations somehow. Okay, so if you've never done this before, you need a name for your animation file. Okay, following conventions yet again. all the animations that are in Unreal Tournament 3 start with a K. Now, as I sort of realised the other evening, I copied my name, pasted it in there, deleted the S, and oh look, we've got a K. Is that the way they did it? You never know. Anyway, alright, that's the name that we've got. Alright, so how do we export the animations? Well, first thing we do, alright, make sure I don't get that space bit, there we go. Copy the name, back into Max, Actor X, animation sequence, paste, don't worry about the funny word in there. Okay, animation sequence name, weapon fire. Right, which was the weapon fire section? Frame 10 to frame 20. Okay, so all we type in here, 10, a minus or a hyphen, 20. Digest the animation. Clicking on OK, OK. Next one. Okay, just going backwards and forwards here. Alt fire, copy, paste. Animation range 20 to 30. Okay. Digest, yes, thank you. And believe it or not, yes, we put down first because remember I've done it a little bit back to front here. Okay. Keep saying okay, I'm going to have to stop doing that. Now this one went from 30 to 40. Digest, yep. As you can see, this is, no, wrong one, quite boring. If you've done this a few times, paste that in there, and you go, yeah, it gets very monotonous, and yes, you're getting bored listening to me going on about it, doing it each time, but we need to have everything in there. No, I don't want that space, might cause problems. We want to avoid all problems possible. Paste that in there. The anim file, the animation, what am I going on about? The idle animation, there we go. Yeah, wobbling left to right. Yeah, goes from 50 to 100. Digest animation. Okay, thank you. Now the last one we're going to do. Now it says here it's a 34 frame animation. I'm just going to copy it, and I'm being very lazy here. I'm going to paste that in there, and I'm just going to use the standard fire animation sequence, okay, from 10 to 20. Okay, the main thing is, if you want, you can just make one animation and just keep on using that for the whole lot. Won't look very great in game like, but that's up to you. Now you think, well, we've digested the animations, but you haven't mentioned anything about exporting them. Now this is where we click on the animation manager, and you get this part of Actor X come up. Now you can see here on the left hand side, just clicking on these, we'll see the name, the group name, don't worry about, your frame rate, frames per second, start bone, key reduction, the amount of frames, this can be important, the amount of frames, okay, how long the animation takes, in this case 3.67 seconds, quite fast. The total keys, now where do you get the total keys from? 11 frames times 1, 2, 3, 4 bones. Okay, so that gives you 44, 11 frames times 4, 44 bones. Now, if you, for some reason, see something like 10 frames here and 10 keys here, you're like, well, hang on a minute, shouldn't there be a lot more? Well, yes, that means something's gone wrong with your linking. A little first check, let's say, of making sure everything's okay. Now what we need to do here is I'll select on the bottom one, hold the left key, sliding up so they're all selected, and click on move. Okay, output package. Now you can see here, file name, KWP for weapon, GeoShock. Okay, and we'll go save. And you will see here, OK, animation file, KWP GeoShock PSA. Okay, it's a PSA file that's being written. 4 bones, total 4 sequences, 6. There you go, there's your 6 sequences, there are your 4 bones. And that's it. Now that is all you need to do for a very simple, very basic weapon export. Okay, now I hope in the near future, once I work things out myself, is how to do one, set things up with the first person arms. Okay, but that might take a while yet to come through because I'm having a few problems. Anyway, this is all you need to do. Now I hope to see better weapon meshes than this in the near future, but that's the simple setup using a bone rig and exporting it via Actor X, and in the very near future we'll actually import this lot into Unreal Tournament 3 editor, set up the package with the materials and everything, then we'll go on to coding and actually putting this in game and having a play with it. Okay, so yeah, me saying okay one last time, I'll see you soon.